Warning. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect that of the HHN TV or its constituent entities. Viewer discretion is advised.
So before we're all completely geeked up, let's everybody take a moment, pause, and chill. Look, here's the reality of the situation with the Colorado Buffs. Hell of a win, right? I mean, come on, man. You're down 24-10. You end up getting a miracle play, take the game to overtime. You win in OT. Travis Hunter, great play at the end of the game. Here's the thing, and this continues to be a thing with Colorado, and that is, and I've said all these things before, Prime is reiterating, we're going to get into it. Number one, playing from behind the eight ball early. You have to be consistent from the jump. You cannot continuously play from behind the eight ball. It's a reality situation. Special teams still has to get better. On special teams, horrible tackling. You allowed a 101-yard or kick return for a touchdown, pardon me, after you tied the game at 10. In addition to that, Cameron had a play where he was able to break free. Now, granted, Colorado held them to field goals in a couple of situations, including the Cameron punt return. And they're great with adjustments in the second half. Obviously, first half, end of the first half, I should say, Colorado continues to figure out a way to score or get some good momentum, whatever the case may be. No. Another positive is Shador, right? He's going forward with the football, because before he's more like Fran Tarkenton. Remember Fran Tarkenton? Which, by the way, there's an alleged quote out there from him. He was like, "Oh, I was doing things that Patrick Mahomes is doing." No, you weren't. John was closest, but Fran Tarkenton had this thing where he could run back and back and back and back and back and get away from everybody, and then throw it from 25 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and it was a net play of 2 yards. So that was Shador's game. Now, Shador is finally increasing that game where he's getting forward yardage with his mobility, because it's not like the mobility wasn't there. We all know the mobility is there. He's got it. And look, if you're a Colorado Buffs fan, there's no way you're not screaming at the TV and going, "Bro, nobody's open. Decent line play at this point. You've held on to the football for 10 seconds. There's 15 yards in front of you. Man, run. Move it." So finally saw a little bit of that. I'm still not convinced that Colorado's going to do much in the Big 12. Of course, Big 12, we'll get into that here in a little bit, but I'm not sure they're going to make headway. Not a big fan of it. Hell of a win. Do not get me wrong. Colorado is kind of like Conor McGregor, Dallas Cowboys. You watch them to see them win or see them lose, right? That's really where they are. In terms of where they are for actually dominating, they're not there for that. So we'll see how things go moving forward, but I would say Colorado is still very middle of the road. They're in a good situation in terms of the Big 12 because it's really not all that strong. I mean, what do you got over there? Utah, not a really decent showing on Saturday. And without Cam Rising, we've seen their offense is very, and I mean very mediocre, and that's being user-friendly. The defense, probably a championship caliber defense, but I would say overall, offensively, without Cam Rising, they will not have enough to stick with the more prolific offenses in college football. The defense, and look, defense wins championships, offense gets the glory, right? You've also got to have a run game. That's a big part of it that people don't forget, or pardon me, they do forget in that quote. You got to have like something offensively has to carry you. At least with Colorado, you've got maybe the two best college players in college football right now. And I think the thing that bothers me the most was, okay, number one, you had a drop pass, which would have ended up as a touchdown. Simultaneously, phenomenal play by Shador, gets it out there, gives this guy an opportunity to go after and get it. But when all is said and done, and I mean this, hell of a catch. Hell of a catch. Everybody's talking about Shador. You can't give old boy enough credit. Mr. Just come on, man. He's running completely, puts on the brakes, dives back, ball doesn't hit the ground. The reception deserves as much credit, if not more, than the throw. I'm just saying it before Colorado fan comes for me. Understand two things. Number one, I don't give a, and number two, that's the reality. We can start looking at things objectively. And speaking of objectively, look, I got this one particular fan just won't shut the hell up in my comment section. Look, first of all, Broham, I'm going to be very clear about something, and I mean this. Number one, I literally made this directly after the K-State Arizona game. Arizona struggled with Northern Arizona. 22-10 was the final of that football game. Please stop talking to me about the win over Tulane, because number one, you won that game by 7 points. Number two, you're trying to say, well, it's against top 25 teams. Top 25 teams shouldn't exist until week number 8, okay? They don't need to be happening right now. It's just a number in front of a team to garnish an audience, which would still exist even without it. It would still happen. The audience would be there because everybody would still think that their teams have a chance, especially right now with the college football playoff and the expansion. One loss doesn't lose anything for anybody. Hell, even 2 losses doesn't necessarily knock you out. And regardless, you could still be a conference champion of a Power 4 conference because, you know, the Pac-12 is still trying to add. So we have a Power 4, Big 10, Big 12, SEC, ACC, Pac-12 excluded as of the moment. Your primary teams, your top-tier teams in that conference left. Texas, OU just lost to Tennessee. Just lost. First game, SEC, in terms of a real opponent, and they lost. They lost, bro. And I literally, by the way, had a Big 12 fan argue the point that part of what makes the Big 12 great is parity in the Big 12 because there's multiple champions across the board. All right, cool, man. That's all good, and I would accept that argument if they were winning championships, but the Big 12 hasn't won a title since 2006. We're talking about damn near 20 years. And this guy wants to tell me that the win over Tulane by a Kansas State football team was really good when Tulane currently is 2-2. 16 out of the last 24 years, they've literally had losing records. He gets upset and goes, well, you don't know ball. You're a casual because, wait a minute, you're the one who clearly doesn't know the history. Then he's telling me stop using the past as an effect on the present, even though history repeats itself. So I'm like, all right, cool. Let's go with this year. Tulane has literal 2 wins over Southeast Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns. They were down 21-0 to OU. OU clearly laxed up and started looking forward to the game against Tennessee. And I have to hear, literally, about how that win over Tulane is amazing because over the last couple of years, what they've done and what they built. Okay, so fine. We're using the past, but we're not. Whatever, bro. Then I bring into the conversation, by the way, the Big 12 has not won a championship since 2006, damn near 20 years in it. He goes, well, I thought we weren't using records from the last 24 years. No, bro, you decided that, not me. I don't give anybody merit off of their wins in the past. And I know it seems hypocritical, but your losses, you continue to evolve into this like, okay, so Tulane's had a good couple of years. Now, clearly, they're not into that part of it. There's no built anything, mister. I'm trying to sound like I work at ESPN and using their quips. You lost. You lost the game. Tulane is terrible. The win that Kansas State has over Tulane is terrible. The Big 12 is terrible, especially with their 2 best teams gone. And by the way, what happened to Texas last year when they were gift-wrapped an opportunity in the CFP because an undefeated Florida State team was left out for this reason and that reason. We're not going to get into this season because last season is different from this season. Last season, Florida State should have been given a chance. All the guys that mattered from Florida State were gone. They were going to the NFL. 10 players drafted into the NFL. This season, they were given a ranking predicated upon nothing, which is why I hate preseason top 25 polls. Top 25 polls shouldn't exist until week 8 if we're going to have it. I don't believe in having it at all anymore because of the college football playoff, and especially with the expansion. The bottom line of what I'm saying is this. The Big 12 is the singular most, outside of the Pac-12 when it existed, overrated conference in all of college football. Period. Does anybody remember Kansas State going undefeated until they played Baylor, who, by the way, had a losing record, and they dusted Kansas State? What about OU? Remember when OU was undefeated? Big 12 championship game. They played a 9-3, was it, Kansas State football team? Got annihilated and still got a shot in the BCS. Still got a shot. Anybody remember that? Okay. So I want to make it clear that the Big 12 has won nothing since 2006. An OU fan, I don't want to hear about Big Game Bob when he had a losing record against top 25 opponents or opponents in general that finished with a winning record outside of the Big 12. In fact, in bowl games, he was 8-9. I don't want to hear it. Losing record. Do you know what a lose means? That means lost. That means more losses than wins. Do you understand that? How is this so complicated? Go ahead, I'll wait. But you know, you got to hang on to anything you can, right? got to get my comment section and go, well, you've only got 800 and something followers. A blue check means nothing anymore. Do you know that? Do you know what a blue check means? A blue check means somebody's willing to pay to have that check. And by the way, for the record, just because somebody doesn't have a blue check, it does not mean the information they are presenting is any less normal or informative or correct or incorrect. It doesn't mean any of those things. In fact, most of your truly good news comes from the underground. You don't believe me? NPR radio. I'm just saying. But see, look, here's the thing, though. When you can't actually argue, what you have to do is crack on the person individually. Ain't happening. Not on my watch. And be honest with you, I really don't give a damn. The reality is the Big 12 is softer than Cool Whip. And that's all there is to it. Win a title, then we'll talk. In the meantime, since the Big 12 has last won a championship, Big 10 has won, the ACC has won, the Pac-12 damn near won, stop it. Everybody's literally had their shot, including an outsider in Cincinnati before they joined the Big 12. Quit. In the CFP, you're horrible. OU, 3 out of 4 games, blown out. Double-digit losses, had a huge lead against Georgia, lost that game, ended up blowing it and getting done in overtime, quit it. I don't want to hear it. Lincoln Riley, we could talk about his overrated ass. Look what's going on at USC. They had that one big win, which is determined because there was a rank in front of the team that they played. Now look what happened this last weekend. I don't want to hear it. And by the way, one of the premier teams that was in the Big 12 just lost to Tennessee. Stop it. I know. You got to hang on to something, right? Because in the state of Kansas, especially in the Midwest, there's not a lot out there, right? You got like the Chiefs. Now that they got number 15, without them, you'd be nothing. The Royals back in 2014, 2015, made a couple of runs, ended up winning a World Series. Got to cling on to something. So sorry for you. Cling all you want to. You are wrong. That's all there is to it. Speaking of wrong, Dallas Cowboy fan, you are wrong. Well, look at how they came back against Baltimore. It's got to be the fault of Jerry. Stop it. It's not. It's Jerry Jones' fault. Everything is Jerry Jones' fault. I'm not saying this without saying, but everything is Jerry Jones' fault. Okay. Jerry Jones is the one who's playing. I mean paying. And I mean paying Dak. Oops. What was it, 60 mil? Stop. You're 1-2. You're an embarrassment. And I don't want to hear about your America's team anymore. I don't give a damn. Look, I guess this is the best way that I could relate it. So I'm going to go with it. I'm a big, well, I don't want to say I am. I used to be a huge wrestling fan, right? To me, Stone Cold Steve Austin is the GOAT. Do you know why I think he's the GOAT? Because in terms of just wrestling, nobody, and I mean nobody, could top what he did between pretty much 96 and 99. Now, if you ask me, 96 to about 97, 98, that was really prime Stone Cold, but we didn't get enough of a sample after the injury happened with Owen Hart. Regardless, just in terms of wrestling, right? But all these weirdos are going to be like, no, The Rock is because of his movies and da-da-da. I'm like, you know The Rock has like a huge female audience, right? So with the Dallas Cowboys, I look at them and I go, you understand that they have a huge audience. And a lot of them don't really actually know football. And that team has been irrelevant to football basically 30 years. Irrelevant. I mean, at every level. You can't win playoff games. When you lose, you blame everybody but your fucking team. You don't lose. The other team just cheated somehow, which is the most childish way of looking at things. There's 1,000,001 videos of your fans breaking fucking TVs and everything else in the house. Just admit that you put money on something and you blew it. It is what it is. Whether it was a parlay or straight up or over and under, whatever it was, you lost. Admit to that. I don't give a damn about your jersey sales. All these, people will tell you Stone Cold to this day, his t-shirt sales are amazing. But these Rock fans will go, yeah, but the Rock. So if let's exclude that then, because who gives a damn about jersey sales when you're not fucking winning? You're not winning. Who cares? You're 1-2 right now. You just got beat by Baltimore, who hasn't even truly figured out their offense yet with Derrick Henry, who, by the way, ran the hell all over you. But I'm sure you'll blame anybody but the guy throwing the football, who didn't show up until the fourth quarter, which he pretty much is exactly what he does. He gets garbage yardage every single fucking time. It's worse than Peyton Manning. It's like people who don't want to admit that Peyton Manning was overrated. This many yards, many yards. Did you watch the Super Bowl? Did you watch him get his ass kicked for 3.5 quarters? And then he went on a 90-yard drive in the fourth quarter when it didn't even matter. And they finally scored a touchdown. Then they went for 2 and they got it, but nobody cared. Nobody cared. Dink and dunk. Dink and dunk. Old Manning, the one-trick pony, couldn't work. And by the way, Dak can't throw it more than 40 yards on target. You've had wide receivers in the past saying that we're leaving points on the field. They blame Dak specifically for that. And by the way, really truly watch your QB. Watch him throw it. Somebody streaking wide open down the field. And then they got to stop, completely put the brakes on, because the ball can't get there. That's what's happening, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not. Dak didn't give up all those points to the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs. No, but he did have a lot of turnovers. Oh, yeah, we talk about anybody else like that, too? Yeah, I do. His name was Josh Allen. I give him hell all the time. But you don't want to hear that. You want to pick and choose. And yeah, the world hates us. It's us against them. No, shut the fuck up. It's not you against everybody. You're not America's team. Jerry Jones created a contract with Fox. That's why you're on TV all the time. And we got to watch you lose over and over again. Denver owned you for how many years when Denver wasn't even that good? Stop it. Your quarterback, Troy Aikman, is in the Hall of Fame for what? 165 TDs and 141 interceptions? Meanwhile, he had Michael Irvin, Alvin Harper, Jay Novacek, Darryl the Moose Johnson, Emmitt Smith, one of the offensive linemen that are in the NFL Hall of Fame. They were allowed to play defense. Bro, stop it. If Patrick Mahomes, John Elway, Steve Young, Joe Montana, on and on and on, had that lineup, are you smoking right now? Are you cooking? They would have won 10 Super Bowls. Troy Aikman literally blamed, because, Jerry Jones had this whole thing with him and Jimmy Johnson and that whole debacle. Enter Barry Switzer. Troy Aikman's bitching on the sidelines. Yeah, I'm about tired of being the only one to get everybody motivated. Hey, talk to me when Patrick Mahomes has my rings. Patrick Mahomes already has your rings. And by the way, more drop passes than anybody in the NFL. You couldn't survive with how many Hall of Famers on your football team, offensively and defensively. Stop it, bro. Stop. Like, Dallas Cowboy fan, chill. I'm so sick of it. I'm to a point where I literally almost hate Dallas Cowboy fans. Seriously. You're so full of crap all the time. Get our rings. Get our rings. Your rings stopped in 1996. It's a freaking new millennium and stuff, man. Like, quit it. I'm going to need you to stop, man. I really need you to stop. All right. Top 25 polls in college football. Let's run with that. Do you know how much I despise this? The fact that I have to go over this. I mean, come on. You got Joe Klatt changing his team every couple of weeks. Wasn't he all super geeked on Oregon? And then he saw him play and he's like, never mind. And he doesn't say it was wrong, right? He doesn't say it was wrong. Instead, he just points out new teams. Good for you, bro. Look at this. Texas number 1, Georgia number 2, Ohio State number 3. Who did Ohio State play last week? Wasn't it Marshall? And as funny as it was, because, Marshall's head coach is like, yo, come over here, get you all you can eat buffet. Like, all right, cool, man. I kind of want to suit up for that, but probably nobody else does. And by the way, despite the fact that Marshall forced, how many turnovers in that game? Was it 3? Was it 3 turnovers in that game? 4? 3 or 4? Like, and they couldn't win. If Ohio State did that against even decent competition, they'd have lost. Quit. Stop the cap. Can we already? Tennessee, look, not really sold on their win over OU. It's a good win. It's not a horrible win. It's better than most, right? They go into OU's backyard and they win. Nobody knows that place better than Heupel, obviously, which was the last time that OU won a championship, which confirms what I think about the Big 12. So there's that. I still like. I don't know, man. The win over North Carolina State, given also what happened this last weekend with North Carolina State, it's really difficult to dictate that. Not a big fan of OU. I feel like they're overrated every single season. You beat them in their backyard. Defensively, you show up. Offensively, not so much. You could look at OU and say probably championship caliber defense, just not enough offense. It is what it is. So I like the win over I like the win over OU, but I'm not thrilled about the win over OU just because of how I feel about things. To me, Miami's underrated. They're sitting at number 7. It's the most complete team I've seen personally in college football this season so far. Now, we're not even out of September yet, so I'm still not willing to make a true judgment call, but to me, that's the most complete team. Defensively, especially in the front 4, they get their hands up. They're knocking footballs down. They look like a lot of really good Alabama teams that we've seen in the past. So I would take Miami as my number 1 right now, maybe number 2, because obviously Georgia, until somebody dethrones them, they're, to me, it's still the true number 1. I know that they didn't win a title last year, but Michigan's not looking any better, even though they had the win over USC over this last weekend. Lincoln Riley, losing record against top 25 opponents, especially out of conference. Didn't do anything in the Big 12 that was significant other than get his ass whipped in the college football playoff. Had a Heisman Trophy winner in Caleb Williams. Give a damn about what I think he's going to do in the NFL. Let's put him at the collegiate level here for 5 seconds and be real about it. You have that caliber of a player at the collegiate level, and you lose how many games in a row last season? How the hell did he survive? Was it 5 in a row? You're still the head football coach? Come on. So, and by the way, Michigan, their quarterback didn't even throw for 100 yards in that football game on Saturday. Stop. Like, I'm going to need everybody to quit on that. Mizzou, they haven't played anybody. It's crazy because Michigan is literally only one spot ahead of USC at 12-13. LSU, okay. Louisville, phenomenal offense, no defense. Notre Dame, they got hornswoggled by Northern Illinois. For some reason, they're still sitting at 16. Northern Illinois was in the 16 spot. Anybody want to take a wild guess as to what happened to Northern Illinois? Let's make it clear. Score of the Northern Illinois game.
Yesterday, Northern Illinois played Buffalo. The final score was 23-20 Buffalo in overtime.
Wow, weird, man. Northern Illinois drops out of the top 25, but Notre Dame remains in it. All right, cool. Iowa State, stop. I give up. Illinois, that was my favorite. Them in Indiana in the Big Ten. I think those are the two best teams. Illinois, really great comeback against Nebraska. Nebraska was dominant against Colorado in the first half, but in the second half, Colorado made some adjustments, and Nebraska looked lethargic. Not surprised that they lost, which, by the way, Illinois moved up a few spots, and guess where Nebraska is? Why I hate polls this time of year. OU drops down to number 21, BYU's at 22, Kansas State's at 23, even though their best win at this point is against the Tulane football team, who, like I said, is 2-2 and has beat Southeast Louisiana and the Raging Cajuns. By the way, Kansas State only won that game by 7 points. Somebody's going to say, well, the Arizona game. Ask me if Arizona is still ranked. They're not. Okay, cool. Thought so. They struggled with Northern Arizona. 22-10 was a win in that game. Stop the cap. Texas A&M's back in the top 25 at number 24. Boise State is sitting at number 25. By the way, Oregon still sitting at number 8, even though they have struggled horrifically. Dylan Gabriel does not fit in there. Even if he will, it's going to be next season. I keep saying that it's 2 years with the quarterback transfers. 2 years, right? Jaden Daniels, second year at LSU, Heisman Trophy. Even though I still maintain his first year there at LSU, phenomenal. He was NFL ready at that point. Bo Nix, second year at Oregon, phenomenal. Michael Penix Jr., go look at his second year at Washington. You're picking up what I'm putting down here. Joe Burrow, second year at LSU, Heisman Trophy, and college football championship. Like, let's keep everything in perspective, okay? I know we get geeked up on all these inflated numbers in today's football, but defense is so different now, and everything is so hit and miss. You don't know what you're going to get. I just stop. That's my thing. I'm leaving it at that. I'm saying it at that. I don't give a damn what you think. I'm not here to babysit or coddle you. And I'm not anybody from ESPN. Okay? I'm not Paul Feinbaum, who criticizes Alabama for no damn good reason. He just needs to make a rating. That's what that amounts to. And by the way, Paul Feinbaum became successful because of a documentary that happened, and a crazy ass fan called in his show. She is what made him, not him making him. But ESPN decided he was a big star because of her. And RIP because she passed. But what I'm saying is she made him a star. That dynasty is not over. It's just beginning. What he does is he comes with like these shock value takes, and he thinks he's so fucking authoritative on. No, you're not, bro. As a matter of fact, you suck. You're a nerd, and you're the reason why football sucks now for some people because nerds like you took over the game who don't understand the game. It's okay if you've never played the game, but at least understand the game. And now you want to be all, everybody else can shut the hell up. Man, you can shut the hell up. You sorry, skinny, punk ass. And I said what I said, and I don't care. Mike McDaniels, Miami. Man, he looks lost. Just a scared little puppy dog right now. Look, I understand that Miami is without their main guy in Tua. And I get that the entire offensive direction is predicated upon what Tua can do. I get that. And McDaniels is very clever and very good at basing everything around what Tua can do. But Tua's not there. One of the things that I talked about at the beginning of this season was when this year is over, potentially Tua or McDaniels, one or maybe even both, have to go. People are talking about whether or not Tua should potentially retire because of all the injuries. Do you understand? So now there's that added element to it, okay? Now, let's take it another step. When you look at Mike McDaniels, tell me he doesn't look like a fish out of water, because he absolutely does. Fish out of water, 100%. Literally is mind-boggled. Now, defensively, I will say they kind of held up against Seattle. But, Geno is so hit and miss. He'll have one game where he goes bammer and over 300 yards, a couple touchdowns, runs for another 50 or 60, just goes ham, right? But then he'll have 4 or 5 games in a row after that where he can't even throw for 200 yards. So the 4 or 5 350-yard games that he'll have will make him look exceptionally impressive. And look, I love Geno, solid guy, deserves everything he's getting. They wrote me off, but I ain't right back. I mean, maybe the greatest quote of all time, seriously. But let's keep it a buck, not get geeked up on the moment. That time has passed. They weren't great last season. New head football coach, no more Pete Carroll. He's an advisor, he's this, he's that, blah, blah, blah. Their defense still pretty good. They're just following what they've already had. You've got a new football coach who has to take over in the NFL, deal with what he's got, kind of keep everything going, right? Because you can't just up and change everything, because if you do, that's not going to vote well in your favor. You're going to crash and burn. So you have to make do with what you've got. The point of what I'm saying is, a win over Seattle wouldn't have been great, but it wouldn't have been terrible. But a loss, especially the way that it happened, is significant because now it's clear, right? It's very clear. It's not even about Tua or McDaniels anymore. It's literally about getting probably, and I do mean probably, not for certainly, but probably getting through this season and then firing McDaniels. If anybody's watching this team, you don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Signed a couple of quarterbacks, didn't do what I thought they should. Ended up bringing up Boyd. All right, fine, whatever, bro. Now Thompson is out. He was tough as nails, but he couldn't survive, right? And I get it. There were some execution things. Fourth quarter, ball inside the goal line, wide open receiver, great play call. Can't make the catch, right? To me, and that was a third down play. To me, you run the football. Couple of plays, you give it a shot. It is what it is. The play was there. They didn't execute. Seattle, they get the penalty right afterwards. They drive the length of the field. They put the football game away. Now, if you're a Miami fan, you're 99.999% sure that this season is over. And now you're thinking to yourself, Tua's probably not going to be there next year. even if he is it time for McDaniels to go? Brody, look, it is. Look, I kind of look at McDaniels, Kyle Shanahan, like Dan Reeves. Dan Reeves coached in 4 Super Bowls. Never won a single one. You know why? He got outcoached in every single one of those games. It's the reality. And when everything falls apart, he does not know what to do. Neither did Dan Reeves. Dan Reeves wanted to come out running and gunning right away. Hey, let's throw it. Let's let John Elway do his thing. And then it got really conservative with the lead. Oh, we're up. Let's run the football now. Or we've run the football for 3 quarters. We're losing. Hey, John, can you win this game for us? It's pretty much what I see in Miami right now. Okay? It's not about the offensive line. I know people are going to blame the offensive line. It's got little to do with that. It really does. I'm not saying they're without sin, because nobody is. But I think at the end of this year, and I mean, that's if he makes it. I wouldn't be surprised if, McDaniels didn't make it through October, maybe even, November. If he's really lucky, that's about as far as it's going to go. And Tua's out for at least another 3 games. We don't know what's going to happen with that situation. It's over, bro. Let it go. He's done. He is completely out of his depth. And that's whether anybody likes it or not. He's out of his depth. You can't look. There are a lot of coaches who would be lost if their star QB got hurt. But I look at Mike Tomlin and I see what he's done in Pittsburgh without a true star QB since Big Ben. I look at what he's done with injuries to quarterbacks and other players. I look at what he's doing right now with what is supposed to be a backup quarterback. They're a 3-0 football team. You can't tell me that Justin Fields does not look the best that he ever has. I look at that situation and I say to myself, the real coaches know how to handle this. The real quarterbacks know how to handle this. They're cooked in Miami, and McDaniels might get, and I do mean might, another pass because the organization may look at this and go, Tua isn't there. Okay, we're going to give you another year, right? Which means we're going to draft a quarterback. And then predicated upon how that year goes, that means, yeah, we'll give you one more or no. So McDaniels has to know that his days are numbered. At the most, and I do mean most, he has 2 more seasons, 2.5 technically, 2 3/4, whatever you want to call it, because we're not even through September yet. Okay, he's got to figure out a way to recover this season. But the way that he was looking, and the way that the team played, and the execution, they're going to place that on coaching. That's all there is to it. All right, everybody, I'm Drew Duncan. We are live. The show is Underground Sports. I am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Drew Duncan Radio. I'm wherever you listen to the podcast, YouTube, iHeart, iTunes, Apple, etc. Wherever you're listening, I am there. Underground Sports by Drew Duncan. If you Google me, I'm going to pop right up. You can tell your device to play Underground Sports, by Drew Duncan. Obviously, do not forget that this Friday, MMA Day, Austin Fort's going to be on here. We've got our new football insider. Haven't come up with a name for it yet. He will be joining the program. Last week, I missed a couple of shows due to some health issues. Here I am. Your local programming is next. you dare touch that dial.